Is it just me or is it really cold in here?
No, it's so hot.
Well, I think it's cold, and that means it's time to go skiing.
How can you think about skiing when we have a sports show to do?
Skiing is a sport, so we are talking about sports.
Yeah, but we have senior night, basketball, cross country. We've got a lot going on. You've got to get your priorities straight.
Well, that is a lot of stuff to get through, so let's get started. Sports Mag starts right now.
Hey Buff fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Mag. I'm Mallory Chris, and beside me is Alex Doyle. I'm glad you're not wearing a wig this time, because that was awkward.
Thanks, Mallory. And it was very hard to see last time with the wig, so I'm also glad I'm not wearing one. But that's enough about my poor hair choices from a couple weeks ago. Let's talk about sports now.
All right, I guess we can talk about sports. As most of you heard, this week the University of Missouri has been in the national spotlight due to racial tensions and turbulence that led to the resignation of University President Tim Wolf. At the same time, Boulder was hosting its annual Diversity Summit on campus. University of Colorado Chancellor Phil Stefano applauded Athletic Director Rick George. George and his administration have a new diversity and inclusive excellence planning process in place right now in order to make athletes feel safe. DeStefano also said that he thinks the university as a whole is doing a good job, but can do better. He is committed to making the university a place where every student feels safe.
Now let's talk about the football game from last week.
Yes, Alex, let's. Halfway through the first quarter, Christian McCaffrey takes it towards the end zone here, and he appears to score a touchdown. But nope, he will be pulled down at the 1 yard line. However, really it wasn't in our favor as he goes on to score in the next play.
Now it's CU's turn. Cepho takes matters into his own hands and runs for 15 yards to bring it into Stanford territory. He then threw to Nelson Spruce, who was able to pick up 36 more yards for the Buffs. The Buffs went on to tie the game with a 4-yard run by Donovan Lee.
And now with Stanford in possession after this stellar touchdown, CU was able to sack Kevin Hogan for a loss of a whole 6 yards.
But the Buffs' next drive ended with a missed field goal by Diego Gonzalez, and that was pretty much the end of it for CU.
Hey, Alex, but wait, don't forget about this interception by the Buffs, who take it some more, all the way to the 5 yard line. But once they get to the 5 yard line, they can't score after that. They don't score any points, actually.
Yeah, none at all, but we will celebrate the interception, for now. Mallory, based on what we saw last week, what do the Buffs need to do tonight against USC?
Well, first off, we need to score off of short red zone drives. And the Buffs had that interception last week, and they could not score any points, and that was a problem. And they ended up giving it back to Stanford after downs. So.
Well, my biggest key to this game is that the team needs to play 4 full quarters of football. Throughout the season, they've played 3 or 3.5 quarters, but they falter in the 4th. Last week, they really only played well for the first quarter and a half. After the missed field goal, it was all downhill.
Well, there you have it, Alex. We need to score in the red zone and play a full game in order to beat this strong USC team.
Following a huge loss to Stanford last week, Coach Mack didn't dwell on the past, but looked forward to tonight's game against the University of Southern California. It's the seniors' last home game, and he knows that it'll be a special night for all of them. It is also radio broadcaster Larry Zimmer's last game, so let's hear what Coach Mack had to say about this special evening.
The blackout's nice, and then of course for Zim's last game, that's extremely special for him and for Bridget and all their family, and of course for all the CU fans from years and years, and also former players. And you know, when you turn on the radio next year, you won't hear his voice. And so I know that's going to be also tough. But I think it's great to honor him, and he deserves it. And
The CU football team runs onto Folsom Field before every home game, but this game against USC will be the last time for 14 seniors. 5 out of the 14 seniors, wide receiver Nelson Spruce, left tackle Stephon Nembo, cornerback Ken Crawley, nose tackle Justin Solis, and free safety Jared Bell will be in the starting lineup for tonight's game. Spruce said, quote, "One big win, especially in my last home game, would be awesome. One of the most memorable moments that all of the seniors have and will miss is running onto the field behind the #1 mascot in the Pac-12, Ralphie."
In this week's edition of Buff Banter, Maddie Goldstein drops some knowledge about the football team and tonight's game. She will tell us what factors may help the Buffs come away with a much-needed victory tonight here in Boulder. So Maddie, take it away.
Hey Buff fans, I'm Maddie Goldstein, and we're going to jump into another edition of Buff Banter. This week, we're going to focus on the upcoming game that the Colorado football team has against the University of Southern California Trojans. Going into the final home game this Friday, the Buffs are preparing to bring their A game. USC is ranked 4th in the Pac-12 in total defense, rushing defense, and scoring defense this season. And as always, the Trojans are bringing a strong lineup, including Cody Kessler, who scored 7 touchdowns against the Buffs last year when they lost 56-28. When the Buffs lost to USC last year, they were in Los Angeles. But luckily, this year, the Buffs will be able to use the weather to their advantage. Here in Boulder, it has begun to get rather cold, and for this Friday, the high is expected to be 53 and the low 31. Hopefully, this will present more of a challenge for the California natives, who are accustomed to higher temperatures and lower altitude. This game is especially exciting because even though there are 3 more games left in the season overall, this will be the last home game for the Buffaloes. It will also be senior night for the Buffs, and they have 15 seniors graduating this year. It will be a big night for some of the seniors that the Buffs will be losing at the end of this season include Nelson Spruce, who only needs 3 more catches to obtain the receptions record, Jared Bell, Christian Powell, and Stephen Nimbot. And lastly, this game will also mark the last game that Larry Zimmer will be calling for the KOA radio station. He has been with the Buffs for 42 years, and this Friday will also be his birthday. So make sure to tune in to this primetime game for a memorable night. That's all the time we have for Buff Banter. I'm Maddie Goldstein, and now I'm going to give it back to Mallory and Alex at the desk.
It's currently the time of year where head coaching jobs are starting to open up around the country as coaches leave their teams. Coach Mack and Athletic Director Rick George met earlier this week to talk about the coach's future with the Buffs. George said that Coach Mack will be the head football coach next year. Under Coach Mack, the Buffs have improved every year. This year they ended a 14-game Pac-12 losing streak and a 13-game conference road losing streak. In every conference game this season, the Buffaloes have been close at some point. They held leads against Arizona and UCLA in the fourth quarter and were within 1 touchdown of Oregon in the fourth quarter before letting the Ducks score a couple touchdowns that ultimately put the game away.
Last Saturday, 50 students had the unusual but exciting opportunity to run behind Ralphie before the football game against Stanford. The students found out about the opportunity on social media and showed up to Folsom Field at 10 a.m. wearing running shoes and GoPros to meet Ralphie and sprint across the field. The idea was brought up last year, but only after the season had ended. So this year, Athletic Director Rick George and CU Marketing Director Prima Khanna brought the idea to reality. Student Jordan Seaman said she was excited about the experience.
And what they ended up doing was putting us behind the team, so we kind of had to wait until they were all filed out before we could go. And so the countdown happened and the Cartman intro happened, and it was all hyped, right, with the smoke and everything, and then we had to wait for 5 seconds. So as much of a burst of energy as I thought it would be, we were held. But then when we actually got to run, it was awesome because
put away your smartphones, grab your thinking caps and your history books to prepare yourself for this week's trivia question. With basketball season starting today, we want to know, when was the last time CU played a top 10 non-conference team in a season opener? The answer may surprise you. We have that coming up later on in the show, so don't go away.
And coming up after the break, we're talking about basketball, and we have a friend who likes to run to join us.
That's right, Forrest Cobble will be here in the studio to talk about the basketball season, so don't run off, or Forrest will catch you.
She is one of America's toughest drug enforcement agents. Last year, she helped convict 90 drug dealers, seize several tons of crack and marijuana, and close down 10 major drug operations. She is a 68-year-old grandmother named Irma. She set up a community drug watch that is not only changing her neighborhood, but its future. There are many ways to help in your community. Call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
Lewis and Clark, great explorers. Hey, wait. Hi, I'm Thomas Jefferson. Would you check out the West for me? Oh, sure.
And they take their keelboat up the Missouri.
Oh, Buffalo. Then they built Fort Mandan. There in 1804. Made some friends along the way. I'm Sacagawea.
Through the Columbia Gorge.
There are tons of ways to help with your kids' learning. Find the really good ones on connectforkids.org.
The sweet Pacific Ocean. Yeah!
You pass the salt, Dad.
Salt is to pepper as gregarious is to...
Oh, no, not more SAT questions.
In ancient Rome, salt was a form of currency. True or false?
False?
True.
Son, can you locate sodium?
Or chloride?
There are tons of ways to help with your kids' learning. Find the really good ones on connectforkids.org.
You have 3.5 grams of salt and a 5-gram slug. What's the rate of shrivel?
In America, you are not required to offer food to the hungry or shelter to the homeless. There is no ordinance forcing you to visit the lonely. In fact, nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have to provide anything for anybody. Thank you for all you've given. Imagine what more could do.
KOA Radio is keeping the Buffalo's football and basketball programs on their regular broadcast. Yesterday, iHeartMedia Denver and the University of Colorado announced a 4-year extension of its broadcast agreement to keep our Buffs on one of the premier sports stations in the country. Mark Johnson will continue as play-by-play in the booth, along with Gary Barnett to replace the seat of Larry Zimmer. CU Athletic Director Rick George was extremely pleased with this partnership and said, quote, "We're thrilled that our relationship with KOA will continue."
The CU women's basketball team triumphed over the USC Aiken Pacers 86-46 last Saturday at the Coors Event Center. Despite having 3 freshmen playing in their first collegiate basketball game, nothing was going to shake this team. When asked about her first game as a CU Buff, Kennedy Leonard said, "We did have a lot of things that we were doing in practice that we put into the game. They are ready to take on the season with full force, starting with Loyola Marymount at Coors Event Center tomorrow." The women's basketball team plays their second home game tomorrow against the Loyola Marymount Lions. Assistant AD Seal Berry will join head coach Linda Lappy in a pregame one-on-one exclusive interview to talk about this upcoming season. Coach Lappy is entering her 6th season as head coach. She has 1 NCAA tournament appearance as well as a record of 80-53 in the Pac-12 and 98-69 overall. Tickets for the game are priced at only $1, and so are selected concessions, so don't miss out.
The NCAA's early signing period is in full swing. On Wednesday, Coach Linda Lappy announced that the CU women's basketball team has a signed letter of intent from point guard Bria Rice. Rice, who is currently a senior at Todd Beamer High School, is a vital player for the Titans. She averaged 10.5 points a game her junior year and was voted the 2014-15 SPSL 4A Northwest Division Most Valuable Player. Coach Lappy is excited to welcome Rice into the family and believes that Rice is just the player that they have been looking for in the point guard position.
Wednesday was the first day of the NCAA early signing period, and 2 players signed their letters of intent to continue their basketball career here at CU. Dillian Brown and Bryce Peters are both known for being able to play and defend multiple positions. Brown was a 3-year All-State player at his high school in Michigan, and Peters averaged 14.4 points per game his senior year, which earned him all baseline league honors. Coach Tad Boyle is excited to have these 2 on the team and said, quote, "With guards and perimeter players in general, versatility is the key."
I don't know a lot about basketball, but my friend Forrest does, and he's joining us right now.
Forrest Gump?
No, Forrest Cobble.
Oh yeah, him. He knows more about basketball than you do, so he'll teach you, Alex. Welcome, Forrest.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the desk. Like you said, CU will kick off the basketball season at home against a formidable top 10 team, Iowa State. Last year, the Cyclones rolled through the regular season and won the Big 12 tournament, but were shut down in the first round of March Madness in a massive upset to the UAB Blazers.
Yeah, that was definitely unexpected. What do you think the Buffs can take away from that game?
Though Iowa State had a potent offense last year, what they had in skill they lacked in athleticism and physicality. Their weakness showed in their season totals with little inside presence outside of big man Jameel McKay. Iowa State struggled on the boards and on the defensive side of the ball and looked uncomfortable unless the threes were falling. UAB took advantage of ISU's Achilles heel by playing hard-nosed basketball and winning in the paint while slowing down the game. CU will look to do the same.
Forrest, what does the team look like this year?
Despite Coach Freddie Holberg's departure for the NBA over the offseason, most of the Cyclones core group will return for 2015. 3 veterans, Monte Morris, Georges Niang, and Jameel McKay, will lead the squad this year. They'll cause quite a few matchup problems for Colorado. While McKay poses a physical threat down low, Niang offers a unique combination of sticky defensive ability and versatile offense. The Buffs will have to decide how to play Wesley Gordon and Josh Scott to try to limit the Cyclones' big men. Mostly, I suspect that Scott will be placed on Niang, so watch how closely the two stars match up. While Scott is the stronger player, Niang can shoot from anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised to see both players have strong offensive days. On the other side of the spectrum, Monte Morris may be the best floor general in the college basketball game. Not only is he a marksman of a passer, but he's a smart facilitator and he protects the ball. And he's demonstrated fantastic leadership. Look for Dom Collier to step up in opposition and try to gain control of the Buffs' backfield. Though he struggled last year, it's clear that the raw potential is there, and I think he'll have a big year.
Hey, so Forrest, how are the Buffs going to beat ISU?
The Buffs are going to have to follow the same game plan that UAB did if they want to earn a victory in their first contest. That means physicality in the paint and tough defense on the edge, which the Buffs struggled in last season. Most importantly, the Buffs are going to have to finish the game. If they get an early lead, they'll have to stay humble and continue to play throughout.
Thanks, Forrest. Now run, Forrest, run. Speaking of basketball, the southwest gates of Folsom Field opened at 2:45 this afternoon so that fans with tickets to the football game against USC will have the opportunity to watch the men's basketball team open up their season against the number 7 ranked Iowa State Cyclones. The Balch Fieldhouse will show the game on the big screens in the beer garden. If you can't make it to Folsom Field, the game is being broadcast on ESPN2.
So we just had Forrest join us, but next we're talking about some other folks who like to run.
That's right, the cross-country teams headed to Albuquerque, New Mexico for their regional. Don't go away.
This isn't where you want to be. Don't use a fake ID.
They said I would be more focused. They said I'd get better grades. It's nothing like they told me. It's not what you expected. Don't abuse prescription drugs.
I'm starving. What's for breakfast?
Guten Tag!
Johannes, Franz!
I bring you arts-enriched Raisinblams, fortified with increased test scores and creative problem-solving skills.
It's good!
And good for you.
Bobby? Susie?
Don't worry, that's just the power of the arts!
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
No, what'd she say?
She said whatever.
No, she says that all the time.
What's that?
Hello? I'm on the phone.
Mom, I'm on the phone!
Hello? I'm on the phone.
Who's this? It's me. I'm on the phone. Mom.
Oh, you're on the phone. All right.
Sorry!
Sorry.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Who are you talking to? Kelly?
Mom.
All right.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Earlier today, the cross-country teams ran fast, as always, at the Mountain Regional in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They ran fast enough to have their second straight sweep. The men were the favorites to win, and the women, who were ranked second in the nation, upset the #1 ranked University of New Mexico and won the meet by only 1 point. The teams are looking forward to the NCAA National Meet 8 days from now in Louisville, Kentucky.
The women's tennis team came within striking distance of pulling up a major upset on Thursday. Junior Nurio Armenio Ruiz was in prime position to defeat #2 seed Megan Manassi in this year's Intercollegiate Championship. After taking the first set 7-5, she ended up narrowly dropping the second set 6-7, and then was finished off in the third 3-6. Ruiz was the first player from Colorado to compete in the tournament and will be playing in the consolation matches on today.
The tennis team wraps up their fall season this weekend at the San Diego State Invitational. As Mallory said, Nuria Ormeño Ruiz will be the first player in school history to compete in the singles USTA National Indoors Championships. She won the Mountain Regional Singles title, and she went 7-0 in the tournament. She is also 10-0 this season. Kyra Wojcik and Juliet Sturr became the first doubles pair in CU history to compete in the USTA National Indoors Championships last season.
CU volleyball head coach Liz Kritza announced the addition of 2 prep standouts to the 2016 class. Lauren Durrell was recruited from Brentwood, Tennessee, along with Justine Spann from Chandler, Arizona. Durrell was named MVP on her high school team after leading them to the 2015 Division II AA State Championship. In 2015, Spann was named the Max Preps Player of the Match 7 times and Max Preps AVCA High School Player of the Week for Arizona.
Last week, senior setter Nicole Edelman recorded her 4,000th career assist against the USC Trojans. Assist number 4,000 came when she set up sophomore Gabby Simpson for a big kill in the third set. Edelman is the 5th Buff to reach this point. The last player to reach it was Ashley New, who played from 2003 to 2006. Despite Edelman's achievement, the Buffs fell short to USC 3-1. Edelman had 35 assists on the night, and as a team, the Buffs recorded 45 kills.
The University of Colorado volleyball team is scheduled to host number 19 Arizona tomorrow at the Coors Event Center. With the Pac-12 season winding down and with their win against Arizona State yesterday, this game is a key battle for the Buffs. Alexis Austin is currently leading the team with 3.99 kills per set. Sophomore Gabby Simpson's close behind her with 3.36 kills per set. These two will be key players for tomorrow's game, which will start at 7 p.m.
The University of Colorado women's soccer team finished up their season a couple of weeks ago, but they are continuing to win awards. 2 Buffs were awarded on Tuesday for postseason Pac-12 awards, which are voted on by coaches in the conference. Senior Maddie Krauser was named second team All-Pac-12 after attempting 11 shots on goal and having a total of 4 assists this season. Krauser ranks 3rd in CU history for assists with 16 and tallied 9 goals in her last 4 years with the Buffs. Sarah Kinzer was named to the Pac-12 All-Freshman team, making her the 3rd person in Buff history after Krauser in 2012 and Bree Hooks in 2013. Kinzer was the first to start every game as a freshman since Alex Hunn back in 2013. Coming up after this short break, we have the fastest segment on TV.
That's right, Rapid Fire is coming up. So pull out your fire extinguishers because Allie Monroy's bringing it in hot.
This house was almost saved from a fire that was almost put out by neighbors who almost volunteered. As generous a nation as we are, sometimes instead of giving, we almost give. But almost giving is the same as not giving at all.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get A little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
No, I am not, man. Dude, I dropped my phone. No, the road. Whoa. Okay.
How would you like to save your life from an ugly, reckless driving death? Don't answer yet. There's more. Act now by slowing down, and we'll guarantee you complete satisfaction.
That's awesome!
In the real world, there is no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. Speak up.
Whoa, Andy, slow down.
Nice.
Hey, guys. Ooh, I've been looking for that. Has Legal seen this?
Yeah. Cheryl, what happened to your,
Oh, yeah, I know. If it gets any worse, I'll have it checked out.
worse? How could it get worse?
Yeah, maybe we should call somebody.
I'm fine.
You wouldn't ignore this, so why ignore the signs of a stroke? At the first warning signs, call 911 immediately, because time lost is brain lost.
All you Buff fans out there will not be surprised to hear that the athletes of the week for this week are Nelson Spruce and Nuria Ormeño Ruiz. These two athletes have been stars ever since they started playing in Colorado, and with both tennis and football wrapping up soon, we thought we would honor their accomplishments. Maria Ormeño Ruiz became the first tennis player in CU history to compete in the USTA ITA National Indoor Intercollegiate Championships. She fell to Megan Manassi, who ranks number 4 in the country, but that doesn't matter when you're making history. Nelson Spruce, despite not doing so well last week with only 5 receptions and 75 yards, has had a record-breaking season and career at CU. He is only 3 receptions short of the university record.
It's now that time of the show to bring you the hottest segment ever created. Yup, it's time for Rapid Fire with Allie Monroy. Allie, take it away.
Hey guys, I'm Allie Monroy, and this is Rapid Fire. We have a lot going on in CU sports, so brace yourselves. Tonight, the football team will be playing its last home game against USC at 7 p.m., so be sure to check it out. Men's basketball team kicked off its first game of the season against Iowa State in South Dakota today at 3 o'clock. This game is still in progress. Our cross-country team will also be competing at the NCAA Mountain Regional in Albuquerque this morning, where the team ran away with their second straight sweep as the men dominated and the women upset New Mexico by 1 point. Next, the tennis team is in action between the coasts this afternoon and Saturday. They are competing at an ITA All-American as well as the San Diego State Invitational. Besides tennis on Saturday, we will be having a doubleheader at Coors Event Center. Our women's basketball team will open its season at 2 p.m. against Loyola Marymount, and our volleyball team will be playing Arizona at 7 p.m. We have a lot to keep us busy this weekend, so let's go out and support our fellow Buffs as much as possible. That's all the time I have for today, so have a wonderful weekend, and back to you guys at the desk.
All right, it's now the time you've all been waiting for. We're going to answer that trivia question you've been sweating over. In case you forgot, we asked, when was the last time CU played a top 10 non-conference team in a season opener? There's no need for a drum roll. The answer is 1998. The Buffs played the number 4 ranked Kentucky Wildcats in the Puerto Rico Shootout.
This week's Tweet of the Week comes from football's Clay Norgard. We thought that this was appropriate given that today is a spooky day, being the 13th of the month and a Friday. This tweet is a throwback to Halloween where a few members of the team dressed up as the Avengers. The tweet says, "Proud of my man Super Sunny for his scoop and score. Hashtag Samson Cafo Valu. Hashtag Chi." Mallory, I wish I could run as fast as Forrest Gump and our cross-country teams, but I can't.
Well, don't feel bad, Alex. Neither can I, you know? And that's why we sit here in the studio and talk about running instead, right?
Yeah. Running is exhausting, but I can talk all day.
Actually, you really can't talk all day because our show has a time limit.
Dang.
Well, speaking of time limits, that's all the time we have for this week. I'm Mallory Chris, and that's Alex Doyle. See you all next week.